BMRforum.com and BMRodds.com, boys. What is going on? What is going on? Welcome back to a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here with the usual cast and crew. Leading off, Mr. Donnie Rightside. What's up, Donnie?
Yeah, looking forward to the Super Bowl. Birds made it all the way through, going up against their nemesis, the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll be in New Orleans all next week. So the good part is I don't have to talk about the Commanders being in New Orleans. I get to at least enjoy it, have some fun, and be like, yep, the Eagles are right there. So good times ahead, hopefully.
Oh, awesome. What's your you're gonna be on radio next week? What's your schedule looking like down there?
Yeah, pretty busy all week through. The one thing that is enjoyable, though, is the NFL opening night where it's at the Superdome, where you get to interview like the Eagles players and the Chiefs players on the floor of the Superdome. So that should be pretty fun, but it's usually busy all during the day, 10 a.m. to like 4 or 5 p.m., interviews, live shows, all that good stuff here. So it is a tiresome week, but most of it gets done, and it's enjoyable work, specifically when you're at the Super Bowl and your squad's in it. Those make it much easier. So ready to go.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah, doing well here. We get a break from football this week, but you get to prepare for the Super Bowl and focus a little on basketball too, and that's always good. Yeah, looking forward to the game next weekend. Just trying to watch the line moves, stay on top of any news, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Nice. And last but certainly not least, the man who looks like he just woke up from a nice relaxing nap, Mr. Sam's in charge. What's up, Sammy?
Going on, Bobby? Had a long night. Actually, it wasn't really a long night. I went to bed at like 11:30. I don't remember going to bed, but that's what time I ended up going to bed. I based that off the last text message I sent, when the shooters shoot. But, went to karaoke, had a good time, brought the party back to my house, kept it going. And, had the day off today. And it's been quite the day. Actually, I had 2 customers blow up my phone. Like one customer called me 4 straight times, back to back to back to back. Like I picked it up and I gave him some shit. I'm like, bro, it's my day off. Are you fucking kidding me? That was crazy. Yeah, had a great night last night. If you didn't see my thread, I posted a couple karaoke clips and my madness of dancing that didn't even realize happened last night. It was good times.
Nice. I know you, Sammy, and you would definitely go into work in your day off to sell a car.
Yeah. I mean, it's no problem. You just got to let me know. I had another customer text me and he was like, I'm sitting at your desk right now. I said, it's my day off. That's fucking sorry. Like, the fuck are you doing? It was a weird day.
You don't actually sell the car. Do you still get a little bit because it's your customer?
Yeah. I still, yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah. And you were speaking
That's
about,
good, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's good. So you guys look out for each other then.
Yeah, we got a good crew. I'm the longest tenured guy there. I'm the top salesman there. It's very rare that my customers come in on my days off because they pretty much know me or they listen to me when I tell them it's my day off. But some people don't listen.
Yeah, now you were saying shooters shoot. So I'm assuming that means you sent a text message to a girl late at night, maybe a little action. What transpired there?
Yeah, one of the girls, I have like 2 girls that I hang out with, and one of them is a bartender. And I know that she works on Tuesday nights, and sometimes she gets out at like 8, 9 o'clock. Sometimes she gets out at like 11 o'clock. It's a bar. It all kind of depends. So I was hoping that it was going to be an earlier night, and obviously it wasn't. And even if she even came over again, I don't even we texted for an hour. I don't remember any of the conversation. So even if she did come over, it wouldn't have even mattered because there would have been any performance going on. But at least we had an hour of conversation. So you're always building on for the next interaction. So.
I mean, you must have said some, Sam, you must have said some crazy stuff when you were blacked out there.
No, my conversation is my conversation's normal. Probably just talking about the night. We're talking about, I was probably playing Wii Sports, sent a video of us taking a shot, sent the dancing video. Yeah, I mean, we hang out all the time, so she knows what the vibes are like. So, just casual conversation and flirting. That's just the nature of the game. That's basically my life. I'm a salesman.
Exactly right. Donnie, let's lead off with you here. I know we're going to jump in to the Super Bowl more next week, but your initial reaction with the line, with the over and under, obviously you're leaning the Eagles, but what are you thinking as far as totals and maybe some props?
I think it's right. Like, we saw a little bit of line movement right off the bat, but now we're in that like soak it in period where you're just reading, as Reload says, some information coming out, good or bad. Next week, when all the bets start flying in, particularly the bigger bets that come in at the end of next week, those are interesting things. So for me, I do think it's right. I don't think the Eagles, if they made the Eagles -1, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, they're basically -1 for the Chiefs at this point. You see
Right.
that total 48.5s, the 49.5s that it bumped up. I don't think we see 50s here because that's just a sticker shock type of number. I don't know if we resettle in at 48.5, but I do think they nailed this. Like, by the end of next week, let's just say if we're at 1 or 2 points, minimal movement here, 49.5 or 48.5, maybe 50.5 at that point. So I don't look at this and say, boy, oh boy, you better fire right away because these numbers won't be here by the time we get
Right.
to next Friday. So I think the odds makers did a pretty good job in the Super Bowl.
All righty, awesome. Thank you. Sammy, same question to you. Early look ahead at the Super Bowl total props. What are you thinking? I know we're gonna dive more into it next week, but let's get your initial reaction.
Yeah, I already got the coin toss in on heads. I'm waiting for the national anthem props to pop out. I don't even know who's singing it. Does anyone know who's singing it?
I don't know.
National-
Who is it? Yeah,
No,
I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna Google that when Reload is talking.
Yeah.
But in reference to me, my initial thought was Kansas City, because I hate Philly, and sometimes, you just bet with that. And Kansas City going for a record. It's kind of interesting how, like, no one is rooting for Kansas City and they're going for NFL history. And, there was controversial calls. In my opinion, Josh Allen got that first down. There's no way, shape, or form that he didn't. And again, it's just funny how, like, my favorite sport is tennis. And when a ball is in or out, if they have a replay, it is 1 second. They show where the ball hits the line. They move on to the next thing. How do they not have a chip in the ball? How do they not have some type of, technology to be able to figure out first downs and things like that? But initially I was thinking Kansas City, but now I'm kind of thinking Philly. They played 2 years ago. Kansas City won in overtime. And now they updated the overtime rules. So both teams get the ball, right? Didn't Kansas City win by a touchdown in that overtime a couple of years ago? But I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Philly now, back and forth onto it. But yeah, I don't really know. It's definitely going to be a fun game, and I kind of lean on the over too. Even though Kansas City only scored over 30 points last week for the first time this year, Philly, you can't stop them on offense. 7 running touchdowns. They had more touchdowns than the Cowboys did all year running the ball. So I don't know. It might be a high scoring game.
And to answer your question, Louisiana star by the name of John Baptiste will be singing the national anthem.
Wow.
I never heard of the guy. I don't.
Yeah, so basically what you got to do is you just YouTube his name and national anthem. He's probably sung at some event, and then you add 20 seconds because they add, for the Super Bowl, and then you figure out where the over-under's at.
There you go. And Kendrick Lamar is going to be headlining the halftime show.
Yeah, and I think he already said, is it SZA, S-C-A? Is she performing with her?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'm not really into the beef between Kendrick and Drake. I don't necessarily have a side. If their music is good, then I have no problem. Drake is more of like who I listened to in college when he was, just opening up a lot of features and Nicki Minaj and different tracks where, he was in there, or even with Lil Wayne and stuff like that. But I like him. I don't mind Kendrick Lamar stuff. So yeah, that should be a good Super Bowl halftime.
It should definitely be a good halftime performance for sure. Reload, over to you. Your early predictions on the Super Bowl there, buddy.
Yeah, I think like Donnie said, the line seems to be in a good spot right now. You didn't really see a lot of movement either way when it first came out. It did dip up from -1.5 to 2 for the Chiefs for a bit, then went back down. I'm leaning right now Chiefs and under, so I'm going to sit tight and let the numbers see what happens with them. I do think we could see some line movement next week leading into the game. I think every time the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, it does seem like the Philly money shows up sooner or later. I think a lot of the Eagles backers are probably just trying to wait it out, get a better number like 2.5 or 3. I don't know if they'll see it. They may
see 3, I don't think.
Yeah. I don't think they'll see 3 unless there's added juice. So they might have to hope for the 2.5 and then maybe tease it up or something. You might see some of that. But right now, yeah, just sitting tight and, usually don't bet the Super Bowl early. I don't like to pot commit this early before the game.
Right.
I'll be in on it next week, though.
All righty, awesome. Thank you, Reload. Donnie, let's jump over to you for a little NBA talk. What do you got tonight?
Yeah, some good stuff on the cards. I had a pretty good night last night, so hopefully it carries over. Last night, one of those paint by numbers, like, hey, take the team that's rested at home against a team that's traveling on the road and
Oh,
favorites, and the underdogs did pretty well last night. Take a look today. The Philadelphia 76ers, who did play last night, but at home and beat the Los Angeles Lakers, they're now getting 8 points, 8.5 points, depending on where you're shopping at. That total is now up to 231.5. This morning, doing a couple videos for BMR, I got that at 227.5 and hit the over, and that continues to rise. I think that's a pretty good acquaintance here. I do think the Sixers might hang around, but the Kings win that game. But I do think we get up and down the court here. So I'll go with that over the total in that one. Clippers and the Spurs, once again, lines are always on the move. The threes were 2.5s to 3.5s to 4.5s. Now sitting currently at 4 at most outlets right now. I did get the Clippers this morning at -3.5. Should be a good game against the Spurs, but I just like the Clippers now. Kawhi Leonard back in the lineup. Harden playing well here. Obviously, another couple players that can certainly battle with Wembanyama down low with Zubac. I think they're the right side tonight. I'll lay the 3.5. So 2 games to take a look at tonight on a pretty deep card.
all righty. Awesome. Thank you, Donnie. Sammy, jump over to you. NBA action. What do you got?
Yeah, well, there's really one game on the card that stands out. For someone that lives in upstate New York that can't watch his home team, I am proud to say that they are on national TV tonight in ESPN. Yes, we are talking about the New York Knicks. So I can actually watch them tonight. So, of course, we're going to throw some money on them at a small price over the Denver Nuggets. We're betting with your heart. That's always what professionals do. And then on the other side, now we got to focus a little bit on college. Now that football is dwindling down to the last game. I like Mississippi State over Alabama at home. Alabama, the number 4 team. On the road, we're going to see a storm court tonight with Mississippi State with the technically the upset based on rankings, but they're a 1-point home favorite. And we'll see if I can stay awake for the finish of that game.
All righty, Sammy. Thank you. And last but not least, reload over to you. Little NBA. What do you got tonight, buddy?
Yeah, I took a good look at the card tonight. I went 3-0 last week on here with my picks, so hoping to stay hot. I had 3 picks down this morning. I scratched 2 of them as the day went on. I'm down to 1 left, and I'm making it my double load underdog of the month. So you want to get in on this one.
Oh.
It is going to be – I hate to go against the Knicks here, Sammy, but it is going to be the Denver Nuggets plus the 2.5. And also the money line at plus 120, and you can find better than that as well. I like the Nuggets here because they've lost 2 in a row on the road. They now get a spot here in New York. It's more of a marquee spot. They should be up for. And the Knicks also blew out the Nuggets in Denver earlier this season, so it's a payback spot there. And also the Knicks come into this off a couple of big blowout wins with some high octane, and I think it's kind of the down-to-earth game. So it's the get-right game for Denver. It's the down-to-earth game for the Knicks. And I like the number at the plus 2.5. And I'm going to do 1.5 units on the spread and then a half unit on the money line plus 120.
All righty, reload. Good luck with those. Thank you for that. Excuse me, boys. An interesting article I was reading the other day. I actually saw it. It first came out on TikTok. Thank you, TikTok. This one creator mentioned about it. DraftKings and Delta are going to be incorporating into a partnership where they may allow legalized gambling on board their airplanes. When the creator that I was watching came out with it, it was definitely satire. He mentioned it, but then he mentioned how some crazy, bets may be offered. Will the plane land on time? Which, okay, that's one. But then a second one that he mentioned at like a plus 100,000 to 1. Will the plane crash? Kind of morbid there.
How do you cash that in?
Yeah, that was kind of a wild thing. But in doing some research before the show, there was actually a period of time where a few airlines tried some gambling. Looks like in 1981, Singapore Airlines engaged in a 2-month test where they were offering slot machines on Singapore to San Francisco route. So that was kind of interesting. And, Donnie, let's jump over to you with some insight. What do you think on this? I think it's a long way off. It's got to clear, federal regulations. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, it's also interesting too, like who would actually get the payoff. Like they're saying, like if the flight leaves from Connecticut, it's a Connecticut flight, but what happens when it lands in San Francisco? And that's more of a airship at that point there, where it's still in the air but not on the ground. Who actually gets the federal regulations? It's tough to regulate, but also understand this: like Wi-Fi is spotty at best in the air. Like we're going to be playing on DraftKings, and you're rolling craps, and it freezes, and oh my goodness, it comes back. You lost all your bets, but you didn't watch
Yeah.
the dice flow, or the blackjack card gets stuck. You don't see it. Your money's gone at that point. It does seem like, and honestly, usually it's like you go to Las Vegas, right? You understand you are excited to get there and gamble, and chances are, if you get lucky, you come home with some money. I can't imagine going out for the flame. Like, I lost all my money before I even got to Las Vegas to even enjoy myself. So be careful what you wish for, where it's boring as hell on a flight as is, and you're going to say, hey, casino's open for you for 3 to 4 hours. Oh, boy, we're asking for trouble.
Ain't that the truth? Reload, over to you. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, some great thoughts there, Donnie. Oh boy, the stories I could get into about that. The electronic gaming with blackjack. Yeah, suddenly you're in the middle of a hand and the geolocator craps out, and you have to go back in, and you have to hope, wow, did I win or not? It's works both ways. Sometimes you go, oh wow, my double down actually won. I can't believe it. I've been through all that kind of thing. I do think, it's kind of dangerous. Like, if you're on a 3-hour flight that say takes off from Jersey or Philly or whatever, and you're, all your money's gone already, and you're looking forward to like a nice vacation somewhere, and it could just put you in a bad mood right away.
Yeah.
I will say there are times it could come in handy though, like in the case of sports betting, if they allowed that. I've been on planes for even Super Bowl Sunday. I was on the planes a couple of times, let alone watch the game. Like, at least you could still bet the game. Even with spotty Wi-Fi, like, hey, if you can at least get a bet in, it saves you from, all the anxiety of hoping the plane lands quickly and running through the airport to try to get your bet in on the phone or something. So I could see it being pretty useful for that. I actually went from Boston to Vegas once years ago with a layover in Atlanta on Delta, and I actually had 3 hours to kill. And I this is in 05 when we didn't have iPhones yet or all that. And I went scrambling through the airport, went into a lounge. I had to pay to get in a lounge just to get to a desktop machine that had internet, so I could look at the picks for the day and all that. It would really save a lot of trouble. But yeah, there's pros and cons, but it's interesting. I hope they go through with it and find some kind of way to work the legislation out.
Right, thank you, Reload. Sammy, last but not least, your thoughts on this?
Well, what about states that don't allow sports betting? So,
Exactly.
so already it's already flawed, because you're going to activate something on like the monitors for some, for some flights, but not others. But what if you're flying from a state that allows gambling or doesn't allow it back in the other way? And then number two, let's do it the old fashioned way. Get on your phone, pay for the Wi-Fi, wait for the Wi-Fi to work for 5 minutes, wait for it to load, and get that bet in. If you're really a degenerate, you're going to find a way to get that bet in by paying for the Wi-Fi service. Let's do it like a real degenerate. Don't just allow it just to navigate right on the touchscreen. But yeah, the biggest over thing would all 50 states would have to allow legalize sports betting, and then same for international flights too.
Yep. There's definitely a lot of hurdles and a lot of hoops they have to jump through, and I think it's personally quite a long ways off. Donnie, I want to touch on this for a minute, and we'll start off with you. Get your take on it. AI in sports betting. There's apps out nowadays that supposedly they can predict based on models and trends, and there's even player props, spreads, totals. There's even apps that I'm interested in looking at that can tell you when there is a arb and middle opportunity, and how much to put down and what books to place that at. So where do you see this going? if anything.
Yeah, we had that like rudimentary stuff that's over the years, like, hey, certain software can actually show you where that you can get the arbitration at that point, but arbitrage, excuse me. But you can do that. But this is really interesting. It's the same thing like school. Like, I don't know where I would have been if like in the 80s or the 90s going to high school. It's like, you can bring up an app and it can write your paper for you. Like we had to pay people like, per page if you wanted to cheat at that and meet some person in a shady, like, cafe somewhere and pay him $50 for a paper that you get. Now it comes right up on your phone. It is interesting where depends on who's loading that in because that software is so expensive to develop yourself. And if you have it yourself, you have an edge. It's almost like back in the day where just the local bookies had the advantage on you because you couldn't go to Twitter or the internet and be like, okay, let me look at the real-time information when the line moves. I can get it. You were always at a disadvantage at that point, waiting for the paper to come out the next day and what those lines would be. And that's what you go off of. And you don't hear any injury reports. You don't see any line movements real time in Las Vegas. But now if you have AI coming into the picture where you subscribe to a service that gives you like the intimate breakdowns with the algorithms and shows you, hey, this game is supposed to be 47.4 points here. And they have thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of script going back and forth of why that number is. That's really interesting here because the fight is usually, is AI too much in your everyday life, robots and cars and all that stuff and self-driving cars and all that. Now you're getting into actually using it for knowledge to try to beat the book. It's very interesting because as much as you have the AI, so does the sports book as well. And whose information is better at that point? It's a wild scene, which I actually hope we enjoy the handicapping process. I hope it's like 25 years down the line, but it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like we're like years away from getting this stuff perfected.
Oh, over. I'm sorry, Sammy. Over to you. Your thoughts on it?
I don't really have any thoughts onto it. In the end of the day, you're still going to bet one side or the other. The players have to play, and the outcome has to happen. So in the end of the day, if you look at like yesterday, one of the college basketball games, the dude made like a 3/4 foot half court shot to send in overtime. Then they win by 14 points. It was like Iowa State or something. So I mean, in the end of the day, the match has to happen, and shit happens. No AI, no computer can predict 75-foot. Jump 3-point, can't happen.
Exactly. And just like, you can, base some betting off of trends, this team is 10-1 against this team or whatever the case may be. It still doesn't, tell the whole picture of a game. Reload, over to you. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I agree with what's been said here. AI has been tried already. There was a company, I don't know if you've heard of it, Juice Reel, that tried some of this. They're still around. I think you can subscribe to it and such. And they do take a lot of information from the sports books, like the betting action. They try to match up the winning players who are betting and the losing players who are betting, and somehow figure out based on that, like what the best picks are and things like that. But I know when it was put to the test, it didn't do very well in the big Circa Invitational contest that VSiN has a couple of years back. They finished last. It was dead last, and it wasn't even close. And they were the first ones eliminated in it. So I think it just has a long way to go. And I think, like we say, there are just so many intangibles with this. I would say, sure, stats, numbers, trends, it gets you to the dance. Like it sets the table. But in the end, you do have to look at a lot of intangibles yourself, both before the game and live betting as well.
100%. Thank you, Relo. And Relo, while I have you on here, let's finish up. I know you mentioned, to me privately, and also just mentioned a few minutes ago, you got some good stories. Give me like your top 2 gambling stories throughout the years. I know there's plenty of them.
Oh, gambling stories? Yeah, there's. How long do we have? No, but there have been all kinds of things that have happened. I've done flights to Costa Rica and back many times. I've gambled in a lot of different places: Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Vegas, probably about 5, 6, 7 different states. I've also been. I was also a blackjack player for a lot of years. I was a card counter. I did get banned in a couple of casinos. And that's a long story too, but it's why I had to start branching out and playing further away and things like that.
Right.
And, it was all about just kind of rolling with the changes that would happen. And, also try to get comps everywhere. I was trying to always get like the highest level of comps everywhere. and really just a lot of that took me a lot of journeys all over, really.
Awesome. Thank you, Reload. Donnie, over to you. What are your top wildest, craziest gambling stories?
I don't know if it's too much wild, but hitting a couple like semi jackpots in Las Vegas were always fun. We're not paying attention. The bells go off. You try to do the math in your head. It turns out 6, 7, 8, 9K at that point. But I always remember the ones that I didn't actually get. Do any of you guys remember, like, if you place bets, sometimes you feel like, let me know what, I got $5. Let me go 12 or 13 leg parlay, file it away, and never go back and check on them. The one I had was a yes or no first inning run scored on like a normal, let's just say, Wednesday baseball slate, 15, 16 games in there. Put the $5 in there, just set it, bet it, forget it, go in the next day. I didn't have any more money in my account. And I go back to find out that I hit 15 of 16 that day, got no money. And boy, would I have loved to see thousands and thousands of dollars in my account from $5. We've all had those type of stories before, but gambling ones, I mean, I'm usually pretty practical when I gamble, but the good ones are where the unexpected jackpots that you get, and also the bets like, I can't believe I bet $10 and almost won 125,000, except for one didn't go my way. And then it turns out it's like the bases loaded, nobody out, which they didn't score a run, is the way you get beat. Those are always fun to go back and take a look at.
Last but not least, Sammy, let's hear one of your top gambling stories before we get out of here this afternoon.
Yeah, one that comes to mind is I had many adventures in Vegas, Legacy Stadium for March Madness.
Yeah.
And there was one day, I forget what day. It was I think it was a Saturday or a Sunday because it was round 2. And still all day we're at Legacy's, and we put in like an all day parlay, like a money line parlay, with like maybe 6 of the 8 games or 7 of the 8 games. And it was all favorites. And it was like, we each put in a couple $100, and we won the bet, and it was like 4,800 or something like that. So, we split it like 1,600 or something like that. We then go to, now keep in mind, it's, you're West Coast. So the games end at 1 a.m. Eastern time, but it's only 10 o'clock in Vegas. So now we're out and we're bar hopping, we're casino hopping. We go play roulette, and I lost $1,000 of that in about 15 minutes. I lost 11 straight spins. My strategy at that particular time, yours always a different strategy, was I took a section of numbers. So there's 36, there's 38 numbers. So I think I took like 10 of them in a row. And I just said, all right, if I take 10 of these numbers, then the odds are, I'm supposed to hit it like 30% of the time. And if I hit it 1 out of 3, then, I at least get some money back. You know what I mean? It's one of those strategies. And I missed 10 straight rolls at a section of the numbers. And it was just like unbelievable. It was just crazy, because I spent 12 hours on this parlay, all the ups and downs of college basketball and every one of those March Madness games. We hit the parlay, and then I lose every roll in a row. Even if I hit one roll,
Jesus.
I would have gotten like $300 back or $350. You know what I mean? But I lost like every run in a row, and it was just demoralized. It was just classic Vegas, classic degenerate gambler. You spend 12 hours, you hit all these bets, you hit one mesmerizing parlay, hey, all the highs, and then you just lose it in 45 minutes. But it was a great story, great classic Vegas,
Yeah, definitely a typical Vegas story for there. I got a really quick one before we get out of here. My best video poker hand still to this day, Father's Day of 2021, 2 years ago, at a small local casino called Railroad Pass. I got dealt. I was playing 5-play super times pay. So with that game, you get random multipliers. You may get anywhere from a 2x up to a 10x on all 5 hands. I got dealt a royal. Unfortunately, there was no multipliers for $5,000. Still, I still talk about that story. It was definitely pretty cool. But thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode of The Lobby. Good luck on all your action this upcoming weekend, and we will see you guys around on the forum.